Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we cut through the noise and deliver the essential insights from groundbreaking works directly to you. Today, we're taking a deep plunge into Dr. Maxwell Maltz's truly seminal book, Psycho-Cybernetics. This isn't just a book, it's a profound exploration of the hidden connection between your mind and your life, offering a shortcut to understanding why you act, feel, and achieve the way you do.
And what's particularly striking about Maltz's work is its surprising origin. He was a plastic surgeon,
Right.
right? And he started noticing something. Fascinating. While physical changes, like fixing a noticeable facial defect, often brought about these dramatic positive shifts in a patient's personality, there were also times when a perfect physical correction brought no internal change at all. And even stranger, sometimes people with, objectively normal appearances were utterly convinced they were ugly. It really made him question what was truly driving their self-worth.
Right. And that deep questioning led him to his central revelation, the self-image. He realized we all carry this inner mental blueprint of who we believe we are. And this self-image, this internal picture, it quietly dictates nearly everything, our actions, feelings, behavior, even what we think we're capable of. It's like the silent director of your life, whether you realize it or not.
That's precisely it. And from this, he made two critical discoveries that are just so empowering. First, all your actions, your feelings, even your capabilities, they will always be consistent with this self-image.
Yeah.
You literally cannot act in a way that truly contradicts your deepest belief about yourself. It just won't stick.
Okay.
Second, and this is the real game changer, this self-image can be changed. Maltz saw that so many self-improvement efforts failed because they focused on, say, external behaviors or circumstances.
Yeah, the surface stuff.
Exactly,
Well,
without ever touching the core self-image. It was like trying to repaint a house that had, a crumbling foundation.
So, our mission today is clear. We're going to unpack this powerful concept of the self-image, explore the scientific framework Maltz used to understand it, and most importantly, equip you with the keys to actively reshape your own inner blueprint for a more successful and fulfilling life. Let's dive in.
Okay, let's really unpack this core idea then. Maltz's initial observations as a surgeon were incredibly telling. He saw patients with what he called conspicuously ugly faces who would gain amazing self-esteem, sometimes within just 21 days of surgery.
Right.
But then there were the failures, as he put it. Patients whose physical issues were corrected, totally fixed, yet they still felt inadequate, just like nothing had changed.
The external fix just wasn't enough sometimes.
Exactly.
And what truly stands out here is that he also encountered people demanding surgery for what he called imaginary ugliness. Women convinced they look old at 35, or young girls comparing themselves constantly to, like, movie stars.
Right, the impossible standard.
Mm.
These individuals didn't have objective flaws, but their internal dissatisfaction, their inner feeling, was profound. This really forced Maltz to ask, okay, if physical change isn't the whole story, what is this invisible force governing their sense of self?
And that invisible force was what he termed the self-image. Think of it as your internal mental picture of the sort of person I am. It's a composite, really.
Yeah, built from everything.
All your beliefs about yourself, your past experiences, every success, every failure, every triumph, every, humiliation, and especially the reactions you've gotten from others, particularly when you were a kid.
And it's often vague, maybe even unconscious, but make no mistake, it is running the show.
Definitely.
And his two fundamental discoveries here really lay the groundwork for everything else he talks about. First, like we touched on, all your actions, feelings, behavior, even your abilities, they're always consistent with this self-image. You, quite literally, cannot consistently act in a way that completely contradicts what you deeply believe about yourself.
So if you think you're a failure,
You'll find a way. Unconsciously, maybe, but you'll sabotage opportunities, even if you're consciously trying your best to succeed.
wow, okay.
But the second discovery, and this is the really hopeful part,
Yeah.
is that this self-image can be changed. Maltz found age is no barrier. You're never too young or too old to shift it. The critical mistake in most self-help, he realized, was focusing on changing external habits, like, I will get that promotion, instead of transforming the underlying self that's doing the actions.
Right. So if your self-image is calling the shots, the really empowering news for you listening is that you are not stuck with it. You actually have the power to consciously adjust that internal compass. Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, I think. Maltz found this surprising scientific framework for his psychological insights. It was in the relatively new science back then of cybernetics.
Indeed. Cybernetics, which mostly came from physicists and mathematicians, studies goal-striving behavior. Think like in mechanical systems. Maltz brilliantly applied these principles to the human brain, calling it Psycho-Cybernetics.
Psycho-Cybernetics, got it.
But it's crucial to understand. He wasn't saying humans are machines.
Right.
He was saying humans have a machine, a marvelous complex machine that we use.
And he saw the brain and nervous system as a kind of servo mechanism, like our own built-in automatic guidance system, operating like a guided missile, maybe.
Exactly like that.
Yeah.
And it can function as either a success mechanism or a failure mechanism, depending entirely on how you, the operator, set its goals.
Okay, so it needs a target.
Precisely. This system learns through what's called negative feedback, which just means it constantly corrects its own errors to stay on course, like your home thermostat adjusting the temperature. Every mistake isn't really a mistake, it's just data the system uses to refine its path towards the goal.
Like a baby learning to pick up a rattle.
Perfect example.
Yeah.
Every clumsy grab tells its system how to adjust, how to get closer next time. Mastery is just a series of these tiny adjustments. Your brain doesn't just log failures, it logs what worked and then aims to duplicate those successful patterns.
Okay.
And this powerful problem solver can work in two main ways. Either steering towards a known, clear goal, like picking up that pen you see on the table, or discovering an unknown answer, like mentally groping through your memories to recall a forgotten name or where you left your keys.
That makes sense. And wasn't there research supporting this, Dr. Wilder Penfield?
Yes, exactly. Penfield's research was fascinating. It revealed a sort of recording mechanism in the brain. Patients under stimulation could actually relive past experiences, almost like watching a movie playback.
Wow.
This suggested our brain uses this stored data memories of past successes and failures to guide our current actions. Think of a center fielder in baseball instinctively running to catch a fly ball. Their brain is rapidly drawing on countless past experiences, stored data, to execute that complex action almost instantly.
That's incredible.
And this also brings up the intriguing question of knowledge beyond our own memory. Dr. J.B. Ryan's work in parapsychology suggests that humans might access knowledge beyond individual experience, maybe an extrasensory factor or potentially linking us to a kind of universal mind. Think about Schubert remembering new melodies he'd never heard, or Louis Agassiz dreaming about a fossil fish and then finding its missing details perfectly restored in his dream image. It hints at a deeper well of information.
Fascinating stuff. So how do we operate this incredible mechanism effectively? Maltz laid out some principles for us, right?
He did. Basic, actionable principles for you to use. First, you absolutely must have a clear goal or target. And crucially, you need to conceive it as already in existence now. Feel it as real.
Okay, visualize it as already done.
Exactly. Second, focus intensely on the end results. The what? The means whereby, the how, will often automatically take care of themselves once the goal is clear.
Trust the process.
Right. Third, don't fear mistakes. As we just discussed, servo mechanisms learn by negative feedback and course correction. Mistakes are just feedback.
Good point.
And finally, to build any skill, forget the past errors. Focus only on remembering and imitating the successful responses. That's how you groove in success.
This framework really suggests that you possess this incredibly powerful automatic system, and your main job is just to effectively guide it toward what you want rather than getting bogged down in the how. So if we have this powerful internal mechanism, how do we consciously operate it? Maltz reveals imagination as the first key.
Yes. And the real power of this idea is, well, it's profound. Your nervous system literally cannot tell the difference between an experience you vividly imagine and one that's real.
Cannot tell the difference.
Cannot. It reacts appropriately to whatever you think or imagine to be true. This isn't just some quirky observation. It is a fundamental law of how your mind and body interact.
That distinction, or rather the lack of it, is crucial then. If you imagine something vividly, your body responds as if it's truly happening right now.
Precisely. Maltz points to the secret hypnotic power. Subjects do amazing things simply because they are convinced that the hypnotist's words are true. Your mind reacts to the mental image you hold, not necessarily to objective reality.
Like the example he uses of a man reacting to an actor in a bear costume as if it's a real dangerous bear.
Exactly that. The image dictates the reaction.
And we see this play out in mental practice too, right?
Oh, absolutely. Study after study shows that mental rehearsal, vividly imagining, throwing darts, shooting free throws, whatever the skill, improves performance almost as much as actual physical practice.
That's amazing.
The legendary chess champion Alekhine even defeated Capablanca after months of practicing chess only in his mind.
Wow. Just mental
It's
practice.
just mental practice. And it's not just for sports. Salespeople role-play imaginary objections to build confidence. Job seekers rehearse interviews mentally to feel more prepared and perform better.
Even visionaries use this. Conrad Hilton imagining operating hotels.
Yes, and Henry J. Kaiser visualizing huge business accomplishments long before they became physical realities. This isn't magic, it's just the natural, normal functioning of our minds and brains, applying these cybernetic principles.
So this means you have an incredibly powerful tool to shape your future, simply by consciously directing your imagination. It makes you wonder, what mental pictures are you creating for yourself? Maybe consciously, maybe unconsciously. Okay, so if our imagination is that potent, what happens when we've maybe unconsciously imagined ourselves into a negative corner or just accepted limiting beliefs about who we are?
That's a really vital question. Maltz argues we can actually be hypnotized by false beliefs about ourselves.
Hmm.
And it truly doesn't matter where these ideas originate: parents, teachers, friends, the media, even your own negative self-talk.
Mm-hmm.
If you accept an idea, if you become convinced it's true, it holds the same kind of power over you as a hypnotist's suggestion has over a subject.
That's a strong claim. He had examples, right? Alfred Adler.
There's a famous psychologist, Alfred Adler. His teacher convinced him he was dumb in mathematics. He accepted it, believed it, and his grades reflected it. But one day, he had this flash of insight, a sudden conviction he could solve a problem on the blackboard. That moment dehypnotized him.
And he went on to excel in math.
It's exactly. Or consider the businessman Maltz mentions, who believed his appearance made him incapable of public speaking. He only succeeded when he replaced that negative belief with a powerful, positive conviction that he had a vital message only he could deliver.
The belief changed, the performance changed.
Precisely. The power isn't inherent in the external reality, but in the belief you hold about it.
There was that dramatic story, too, about Mr. Russell and the voodoo curse.
Even more dramatically, yes.
Yeah.
Mr. Russell apparently aged like 20 years overnight because he believed he was cursed, and then regained his youthfulness when he accepted the truth that the curse wasn't real. The belief itself had profound physical effects.
Incredible.
And crucially, hypnosis research backs this up. It can temporarily dehypnotize people. Maltz talks about a championship weightlifter who, under hypnosis, was told he couldn't lift a simple pencil. And he literally couldn't.
Not because he was weak.
No.
Yeah.
But because of an unconscious, contrary muscle contraction triggered by the belief. Similarly, an athlete could lift more weight when hypnotically told he was stronger. Not because hypnosis magically added strength.
But because it removed the self-limiting beliefs he already had.
Exactly. The power was always inherent within them. Hypnosis just unlocked it by removing the negative programming.
Maltz also connected this to the inferiority complex, didn't he?
He did. He argued it stems not from actual objective inferiority, but from our conclusions about facts, thinking, I am an inferior person, rather than say, okay, I'm currently an inferior weightlifter compared to that champion. See the difference?
Yeah, judging the self versus the skill.
Right. Comparing ourselves unfavorably often leads to this frantic striving for superiority, which ironically can just make the feeling worse. He mentioned a psychologist's experiment where students felt moronic simply because they were given a false, faster average time for completing a test. It shows how easily external norms can trigger feelings of inadequacy.
It really is a powerful thought. Many of the limitations you experience might just be these self-imposed beliefs, these hypnotic suggestions, waiting to be challenged and released. Okay, so if we're often walking around sort of hypnotized by these false beliefs, how do we actively regain control? How do we use our creative mechanism effectively? Maltz prescribes something surprisingly straightforward: rational thinking.
That's right. What truly stands out here is that he saw conscious thought as the control knob for your unconscious machine. It's the primary way you can step in and change those ingrained negative reaction patterns. Dr. John A. Schindler from the famous Monroe Clinic called this conscious thought control. He advocated learning new habits and new ways of looking at problems rather than constantly digging into the past for causes.
So this means actively choosing to ignore past failures, not letting them define today.
Exactly. Dwelling on mistakes, thinking I failed yesterday, so I'll probably fail again today, only perpetuates the pattern. As Maltz put it, the minute that we change our minds and stop giving power to the past with its mistakes loses power over us.
Like Dorothea Brand, the writer he mentioned.
Yes, she dramatically boosted her productivity and even discovered a hidden talent for public speaking simply by deciding to act as if it were impossible to fail. She changed the inner assumption.
Wow.
Bertrand Russell, in his book The Conquest of Happiness, described his own method for tackling irrational feelings like excessive remorse. He advised examining their absurdity, really looking at them rationally, and then making your conscious rational beliefs so vivid and emphatic that they actually impress themselves upon the unconscious mind.
So you consciously overwrite the old feelings.
Sort of, yes. He also found that after intensely focusing conscious thought on a problem, the best thing was often to give orders, so to speak, that the work is to proceed underground.
Let the unconscious take over.
Right. And just let the solution surface later, maybe when you're relaxed. It's an incredible insight into how our creative mind often works.
And here's a crucial point Maltz makes. Don't be too careful.
Yes. Over-reliance on conscious forebrain thinking, constantly analyzing and controlling, can actually lead to anxiety and jam your smooth automatic mechanism.
Like trying too hard.
Exactly. William James, often called the father of American psychology, talked about the gospel of relaxation. He suggested confining prudence and planning to the decision-making stage. Once a decision is made, James advised, dismiss absolutely all responsibility and care about the outcome. It's a kind of victory by surrender.
Letting go allows the mechanism to work.
It allows your creative mechanism to work unimpeded, yes.
So, looking at the bigger picture, creative ideas often pop up spontaneously during relaxation, right? But after intense conscious effort.
Precisely. Think of Edison's famous naps, Darwin having sudden insights while relaxing, or Russell's underground work. It's the same in skilled performance sports. Music, it thrives when you're relaxed, trusting your training and letting the job do itself, rather than through painful, conscious, overthinking effort.
Practically speaking, he mentioned a businessman who learned to do all his worrying before making a decision.
Yes, and then, once the decision was made, he consciously dismissed all care, let it go.
That principle applies everywhere, from a dentist visit to giving a big speech.
Absolutely. And Maltz also stresses, respond to the here and now. So much nervousness and anxiety comes from trying to mentally do something that cannot be done right now, or fighting straw men, imagine problems from the past or future.
Stay present.
Stay present. He also used the lesson of the hourglass analogy.
Ah, yes, the sand.
Right. Trying to mentally juggle too many things at once just causes confusion and anxiety. You can only truly handle one grain of sand, one task at a time.
And don't forget the power of sleeping on it.
Definitely not. Define a problem clearly. Hold a strong desire for a solution before bed, and then trust your creative mechanism to work on it while you sleep. Think of the shoemaker and the elves from the fairy tale, or Kekule discovering the structure of the benzene molecule in a dream after struggling with it consciously.
It's amazing how often that happens.
And a simple but really effective daily practice, Maltz suggested. Relax while you work. Literally, just mentally recall sensations of physical relaxation throughout your day. It can significantly reduce fatigue and improve your focus.
So this isn't about just passively waiting around. It's about intelligently directing your mental energy, knowing when to actively think, when to plan, and crucially, when to simply let go and trust that powerful inner mechanism to do its work.
Okay, beyond these individual goals and managing thoughts, what about something as fundamental as happiness itself? Is that something you can actively cultivate using these psycho-cybernetic principles?
Oh, absolutely. Maltz is very clear on this. He quotes Spinoza, saying happiness is not merely a reward of virtue, but virtue itself. In other words, it's a mental habit, a way of being that profoundly impacts your entire well-being.
Mental habit.
Yes, and it demonstrably improves your thinking, your performance, your physical health, even how vividly you perceive the world through your senses. As Abraham Lincoln famously observed, most people are about as happy as they make up their minds to be. There's a choice involved. Maltz even called happiness good medicine, didn't he?
He did. He pointed out it helps us think better, perform better, feel better, and actually be healthier. Psychosomatic medicine shows our internal organs literally function more efficiently when we're in a positive, happy state. And there was even a survey finding that optimistic, cheerful business people tended to be more successful.
Interesting correlation.
This natural, goal-striving attitude, maintaining that forward momentum, even in the face of misfortune. Think of Thomas Edison losing his entire lab to a fire.
Right, and famously saying, we will start rebuilding tomorrow morning.
Exactly. That attitude actively fosters happiness. William James noted we can convert evil into a bracing and tonic good simply by changing our inner attitude from fear to fight, from passive victim to active agent.
So how do we practice this?
What's truly fascinating here is that Maltz insists we can systematically practice healthy-mindedness. This means deliberately choosing to focus on pleasant thoughts, actively directing your attention.
Like the examples he gave. Carl Erskine, the pitcher.
Yes, the famous baseball pitcher. He would manage intense pressure by vividly recalling a peaceful fishing spot. Boxer Gene Tunney overcame a terrifying pre-fight nightmare by forcing himself to focus on positive mental images instead.
So replacing the negative image.
Replacing it, yes. Maltz details a case of a world-famous scientist who, after years of persistent gloom, completely transformed his life in just 1 month. How? By deliberately spending time each day dwelling on happy past events, appreciating desirable elements in his present life, and focusing on worthy future ambitions. It was an active mental exercise, a retraining.
He also offered practical do-it-yourself tranquilizers,
Yeah.
right, to build a sort of psychic scream.
He did. Very practical techniques. One he called letting the telephone ring. It's a metaphor, obviously, for learning to ignore or delay habitual, automatic over-responses to stimuli.
Not reacting instantly to everything.
Exactly. Like the example of Mary S., who learned to delay her impulse to flee a crowded room when she felt anxious, eventually overcoming the anxiety. Another technique is creating a quiet room in your imagination.
A mental sanctuary.
Precisely. A mental decompression chamber. You furnish in your mind with restful details, calming colors, a favorite landscape, a comfy armchair. He suggested using it for a little vacation every day, just stepping inside mentally for a few minutes to refresh and return to your day, calmer and better prepared.
I like that.
And extending this idea, you can also visualize blowing off steam. Imagine any emotional pressure you feel harmlessly escaping, like steam from a valve, or like the Yellowstone geyser, Old Faithful, just letting it dissipate without causing harm.
Instead of letting it build up.
Right. This helps prevent emotional carryover, bringing work worries home or carrying irritation from a traffic jam into your next interaction. And importantly, calmness also carries over. If you cultivate inner calm, it affects the next situation too.
So it's like setting your internal climate.
Exactly. Maltz suggests you have a spiritual thermostat that allows you to maintain a chosen emotional climate regardless of the external emotional weather around you.
This really provides a clear roadmap then. It proves that you have the power to actively manage your emotional state and cultivate profound, lasting happiness right from within. Okay, Dr. Maltz also provided this powerful acronym, SUCCESS, outlining the ingredients of a success-type personality. Let's touch on a few of those that directly impact how we reshape our inner world and build that resilience we've been talking about.
Indeed. And these aren't just abstract concepts, they're really actionable qualities. When you cultivate them, they directly strengthen your self-image and help you thrive. Let's start with S for sense of direction. Maltz urges, get yourself a goal worth working for. Better still, get yourself a project, something that pulls you forward.
A reason to get up in the morning.
Exactly. He advocated developing a nostalgia for the future instead of constantly dwelling on the past. Being goal-oriented literally keeps you feeling younger and more engaged with life. He observed how often men declined rapidly after retirement.
Because they lost their purpose.
Precisely. Due to a loss of goals, a loss of that forward momentum.
Then there's C for courage. How did he define that?
Maltz interestingly defines faith as the courage to do something regardless of the consequences. Often, he noted, the only difference between success and failure is simply having the courage to bet on your ideas, to take that calculated risk, to act despite uncertainty.
Stepping out even when you're not sure.
Right. He even suggested the common urge to gamble might be a natural creative instinct that, if not channeled constructively into goals and projects, can get misdirected into actual gambling or other non-productive outlets.
Interesting take. What about E for esteem, self-esteem?
Foundational. Maltz called self-disesteem or low self-worth the deadliest trap. It was very clear. Holding a low opinion of ourselves is not a virtue, but a vice.
Not humility, but a vice.
Correct. He argued, low self-esteem fuels jealousy, hostility, and literally clouds your ability to see facts clearly. And the biggest secret he revealed for boosting your own self-esteem is surprisingly counterintuitive.
What is it?
He said, begin to appreciate other people more. Show respect for any human being. Surprisingly enough, your own self-esteem will go up.
But focusing outward.
Yes. Because real self-esteem, he argued, isn't derived primarily from your great accomplishments, but from a fundamental appreciation of yourself for what you are, a child of God, recognizing your inherent worth and the worth of others.
Deep. Okay, and the second S was for self-acceptance.
Crucial. Maltz states flatly, no real success or genuine happiness is possible until a person gains some degree of self-acceptance. He observed that the most miserable people are those constantly straining to be something or someone other than what they fundamentally are.
Fighting against themselves.
Exactly. True success often blossoms only when a person is finally willing to relax and be himself. Just accept who you are, flaws and all. Maltz also observed that most people actually underrate themselves. Those outward superiority complexes you sometimes see, often just flimsy cover-ups for deep-down feelings of inadequacy. And crucially, true self-acceptance doesn't magically create new abilities out of thin air. What it does is release the abilities you already possess, but which were previously inhibited by self-rejection or striving.
It unlocks potential.
It unlocks your existing potential.
But what about when past experiences have left really deep wounds? How do we deal with those emotional scars that seem to hold us back?
That's a huge factor. Emotional scars, Maltz explained, are much like physical scars. They form initially for self-protection against past hurts. Makes sense, right?
Yeah, defense mechanism.
But the problem is, this spiritual callus, as he sometimes called it, can end up alienating us not just from other people, but crucially from our real selves. It makes us operate from an image of ourselves as unwanted or incapable or unworthy. It's like building a protective wall that ends up trapping you inside, isolating you from the very life you want to live.
So how do we immunize ourselves against future hurts or heal old ones?
He offered very practical advice here. First, he said, be too big to feel threatened. People with low self-esteem are easily offended by minor slights. But a truly self-reliant person, someone who gives love and acceptance freely, doesn't have that compulsive need for everyone's constant approval. Their center is within.
Okay, makes sense.
Second, linked to that, is develop a self-reliant attitude. Assume responsibility for your own life and your own emotional needs. Give affection, give understanding, give acceptance, and it tends to come back to you as a natural reflex.
Give what you want to receive.
In essence, yes. And third, and this is key for healing scars, relax away emotional hurts. Just like plastic surgery often involves releasing tension around a physical scar to help it fade, emotional scars require truly cutting them out, giving them up entirely.
Not just managing them.
No. Applying salve, as he put it, things like partial forgiveness, holding subtle grudges, seeking minor revenge that just doesn't work long-term. It keeps the wound alive. True, therapeutic forgiveness means completely canceling the perceived debt of the other person. Not necessarily out of generosity, but because you eventually come to recognize that the debt itself is not valid. It's based on a misunderstanding or a past hurt that no longer serves you.
Letting it go completely.
Completely. It requires forgiving and forgetting. If you keep remembering how magnanimous you were to forgive someone, you've just created a new kind of debt, a new burden.
Good point.
Maltz also stressed the vital distinction. You make mistakes. Mistakes do not make you. It's crucial to separate your actions from your core self, like a parent describing a child's specific speech difficulty, rather than labeling the child as a stutterer.
Labeling the behavior, not the person.
Exactly.
So to live creatively, we have to accept the risk of being hurt sometimes?
We do. He advised cultivating a tough emotional epidermis, like resilient skin that heals quickly, rather than a hard protective shell, like an oyster.
The oyster is secure.
Secure, yes, but it's not creative, and it misses out on most of life's richness and joy. A shell isolates.
Right. And Maltz said personality isn't something you build, but something you release.
Yes. He saw personality as emerging from within, the free and full expression of your real self, which he believed is inherently attractive and engaging. What we often call an inhibited personality isn't a lack of personality. It's simply someone who's afraid to express their true self.
What causes that inhibition?
Primarily excessive negative feedback. Being overly sensitive to criticism, real or imagined. This excessive feedback stops action altogether instead of just modifying it like healthy feedback does. Think of stuttering, which can arise from over-monitoring your own speech, or getting a purpose tremor when you try too hard and focus too much on perfectly threading a needle. The self-consciousness jams the mechanism.
So how do we break free? How do we disinhibit?
Well, Maltz suggested actively practicing disinhibition. This means consciously trying to be a little less careful, a bit less concerned about judgment, maybe less rigidly conscientious in certain situations.
Like, speak before you think.
Metaphorically, yes. Stop the constant moment-to-moment self-criticism. He argued self-critique should be a deliberate, occasional activity, not a running commentary in your head.
That makes sense.
Even simple things like consciously deciding to speak a bit louder can be a powerful physical disinhibitor for some people, allowing more natural expression to flow. Real poise, he said, comes from learning to ignore excessive negative feedback, not from constantly trying to make a good impression.
So it's about cultivating self-consciousness in a different way.
Yes, in the positive sense of acting more like you would when you're alone and completely unobserved, acting authentically, without constant regard for how others might be judging you.
This whole concept, this emotional facelift, isn't about denying reality then. It's about cultivating the inner resilience and the freedom to express your true self, unburdened by past hurts or fear of future ones. Okay, life inevitably throws curveballs at us. It creates crises, big and small. How does this Psycho-Cybernetics system help us not just cope, but actually thrive and maybe even perform better in those high-pressure moments?
This is a really pivotal area Maltz addresses. A crisis, he explains, can go one of two ways. It can either give you a surge of strength and power you don't ordinarily possess, or it can completely rob you of your skill and composure.
Fight or freeze.
Exactly. The money player, whether in sports, business, or just life, is someone who has learned, consciously or unconsciously, to react to crisis aggressively.
Wow.
They transform the pressure into an opportunity. It's all about how you interpret and harness the excitement, the adrenaline, that the crisis naturally generates.
Like high jumper John Thomas you mentioned, performing better under pressure.
Precisely. Athletes like him often perform better under the pressure of competition than they do in relaxed practice. Maltz argued this isn't necessarily an inherent quality, but more often a learned reaction to pressure.
So how do we learn that reaction? What are the keys?
Maltz outlined 3 essential keys to performing well in a crisis. First, and this might sound counterintuitive, is to practice without pressure. Learn and hone your skills under non-crisis conditions first.
Build the foundation when things are calm.
Exactly. He cited Dr. Edward C. Tolman's research with rats, which showed that learning under high stress or pressure creates narrow, restricted brain maps and rigid, fixated responses. It makes adapting harder later. In contrast, learning in a relaxed state creates broad, flexible mental maps that allow for more creative solutions when pressure does arrive. Think about people trying to learn escape routes during an actual fire drill versus calmly walking through them beforehand.
They learn less effectively under duress. Got it.
The second key is to react with an aggressive, goal-directed attitude when the crisis hits. This means consciously choosing to respond to the challenge inherent in the situation rather than focusing on the menace or the potential negative outcome.
Focus on the opportunity, not the threat.
Right. Keep your positive goal firmly in mind. Choose to fight, metaphorically speaking, to engage actively instead of giving in to fear or flight. That rush of excitement you feel, the adrenaline, it can be dynamite, as Maltz called it, if you interpret it as energy for action and channel it towards your goal.
Like that incredible story of the man lifting the truck cab.
Yes. The man who lifted a crushed truck cab off a driver pinned underneath. His explanation, I hate fire, because his daughter had died in one. That intense emotion, channeled by a goal, saving the driver, gave him seemingly superhuman strength. His interpretation fueled action.
Amazing. And the third key?
The third key is to evaluate crisis in true perspective. Don't mentally magnify the potential penalties or catastrophize the outcome. Ask yourself honestly, okay, what is the worst that can possibly happen if I fail in this specific situation?
Put it in perspective.
Exactly. Philosophers like Bertrand Russell and Thomas Carlyle apparently use this technique to find courage. Most of our everyday crises are definitely not life or death. They're often just opportunities disguised as problems. Maltz mentioned a salesman who dramatically doubled his income simply by adopting the attitude, look, in this sales call, I have everything to gain and nothing fundamentally to lose. That reframing freed him up.
That was a huge difference. He also strongly advocated shadowboxing, right? Mental practice.
Oh, hugely. Practicing mentally, without the real-world pressure. It's about vigorous mental rehearsal. Think of boxer Jim Corbett practicing his left jab thousands of times in front of a mirror, or Gene Tunney mentally fighting an imaginary Jack Dempsey round after round.
Or speakers rehearsing to empty chairs.
Yes, or Ben Hogan famously practicing his golf swings meticulously in his bedroom mirror. This intense mental practice builds those crucial mental maps and creates a strong memory of a successful self-image, which then powerfully carries over into the actual pressure situation.
It's like pre-programming success.
It really is. It could even be used in things like marksmanship dry shooting, without ammo, or a salesman practicing not selling, just to remove the internal pressure and allow their natural skills to emerge.
This concept leads right into cultivating that winning feeling.
Exactly, because your automatic creative mechanism, your success mechanism, works best on goals that you conceive of as present possibilities, things that feel real now. And remember that core principle. Your nervous system cannot tell the difference between a real experience and one you vividly imagine.
So if you vividly imagine winning,
Your body and mind start to respond as if you were winning, generating that feeling.
and championship athletes actually report this, feeling it beforehand.
Yes. What's fascinating is that many champions, like golfer Kerry Middlecoff, pitcher Don Larson during his perfect game, boxer Johnny Menger, they reported having that winning feeling, that certainty, before their greatest successes. Modern science suggests this might involve reactivating stored engrams, those ingrained action blueprints or memory traces in your brain from past successes. When you reactivate the pattern, you also reactivate the associated feeling.
So how do you cultivate that feeling, especially if you don't have huge past successes yet?
The secret, Maltz insists, is gradualness. Build success habitually. Start with small, easily achievable successes. Get the feeling of success from those small wins, however minor, then gradually increase the difficulty.
Like weightlifters starting light or boxers sparring easier opponents first?
Precisely. Or Albert Tangora, the world champion speed typist, who overcame plateaus by deliberately practicing typing slow, perfectly, reinforcing the correct feeling and pattern before speeding up again. As the great scientist Pavlov advised, passion and gradualness, you need both the desire and the patient, step-by-step building process.
Instead of worrying about failing, Maltz flips it, right? Constructive worry.
Yes. Instead of dwelling on potential negative outcomes, he suggests you worry constructively about positive ones. Start by asking yourself, suppose the best possible outcome did actually come about. What would that look like, feel like? Then move to, okay, this could happen. And finally, engage in vivid mental imagery of that positive outcome, actively cultivating the feeling of faith and courage associated with it.
You're programming the positive outcome.
Exactly. And recent findings even suggest these brain engrams aren't totally fixed or permanent. Your present thinking and attitudes can actually modify, replace, or dub over those old negative recordings. So consciously focusing on positive, happy, successful experiences literally strengthens those neural pathways and makes that winning feeling more accessible.
It all points back to this incredible system within you that's always ready. By cultivating a proactive, imaginative, and goal-oriented approach, you can harness its power to achieve your desired outcomes and truly experience that winning feeling in every aspect of your life. Okay, finally, Dr. Maltz takes these powerful principles even further. He suggests they don't just impact our success and happiness, but maybe even our physical vitality and, well, longevity.
Indeed. It's a fascinating, perhaps more speculative part of the book, but deeply intriguing. He poses the hypothesis. Can our success mechanism, guided correctly, actually act as a kind of built-in fountain of youth?
Wow, how does he connect that?
He connects it to the body's amazing natural healing and adaptive capacities. He suggests there's a fundamental life force, an idea explored by psychologists like Janet Young and Bergson, that courses through us. Not just energy derived solely from food, but a deeper drive to live, to heal, to adapt.
And he brings in research on stress. Dr. Hans Selye.
Yes. Dr. Selye's pioneering research on stress and what he called adaptation energy. Selye suggested we have a finite amount of this fundamental energy, which gets consumed in adapting to life's demands, and that its depletion might be fundamental to the aging process itself.
And the RES system.
Right, Maltz points to research on the reticuloendothelial system, or RES. This is a crucial network of specialized cells throughout your body, vital for immunity, healing, and removing debris. He suggested the RES might be key to longevity and disease resistance, controlling growth, and even anti-growth factors. He even speculated, based on his own medical work with something called AGTS, anti-granulation tissue serum, that stimulating the RES might be involved when his patients reported feeling younger and having more energy. It's a connection he was exploring.
So how do our thoughts fit into this physical picture? Placebos.
That's a key link. Maltz highlights how thoughts and emotions can genuinely act as therapy. The placebo effect is a perfect example. A sugar pill works because it arouses an expectation of improvement in the patient's mind. It sets a clear goal image of health.
Ah, the goal image again.
Exactly. And that goal image activates the creative mechanism, which then works through the body's own powerful healing systems to try and achieve that goal. It's the mind directing the body's innate capacity.
So conversely, could we think ourselves into getting old?
Maltz certainly suggests so. Expecting to grow old and frail at a certain arbitrary age, say 65 or 70, sets a powerful negative goal image for your internal mechanism.
Telling your system what to expect.
Precisely. And then acting on that expectation by curtailing physical and mental activity like stopping exercise, which literally causes capillaries to dry up, can actively bring about the very decline you anticipated. As he stated so emphatically, activity means life, both mental and physical.
So the antidote is that nostalgia for the future.
Yes. He advises developing a genuine nostalgia for the future, maintaining enthusiasm for life, having goals, projects, a need for more life to accomplish things. This keeps you productive and vital. He even noted, anecdotally, that actors and actresses often seem to look younger than their chronological age, possibly because they have a continued strong goal of maintaining their appearance and staying actively engaged in their demanding profession.
Retirement can be dangerous then if not handled right.
It can be. He observed many men declining rapidly after retirement, not just from the job itself, but because they retired from life. They lost their goals, succumbed to boredom, and developed a diminished self-image of uselessness. The mechanism lacked positive direction.
And Maltz, as a medical doctor, saw no conflict between science and faith here.
Not at all. He firmly believed that both medical science and genuine religious faith derive from the same ultimate source, the same intelligence, the same life force, as he put it. He cautioned strongly against limiting your own life potential by refusing help, whether medical or spiritual, simply due to narrow, rigid beliefs. Keep an open mind to all sources of healing and growth.
And he concludes with what he calls the best self-image of all.
Yes. He concludes that ultimately the most adequate and realistic self-image of all is to conceive of yourself as made in the image of God. He argued that holding this belief deeply, truly feeling it, unlocks a profound new source of strength and power that can permeate every aspect of your being, including your vitality.
So bringing this all together, what does this deep dive into psycho-cybernetics really mean for you, the listener? We've delved into Dr. Maxwell Maltz's revolutionary ideas, from the incredible power of your self-image to the vast potential locked within your imagination and your built-in success mechanism.
Yeah, this exploration has really illuminated how your inner blueprint, the way you approach challenges, even your fundamental thoughts about happiness, how all of this profoundly shapes your actual lived reality. The power to change your life isn't some mystical force outside of you. It's a mechanism that's already built in, just waiting for your conscious direction, your belief, your goals.
We've learned how to start recognizing those limiting beliefs, how to harness our imagination for powerful mental practice, how to cultivate happiness as an active habit, how to build a more resilient success personality, and even how to turn crises into opportunities just by changing our internal frame of reference.
And let's not forget that crucial mind-bending insight. Your nervous system literally cannot tell the difference between a real external experience and one that you vividly imagine internally. Which really begs an important final question for you.
Consider this. If your nervous system is constantly automatically responding to the reality you are projecting onto it through your thoughts and imagination, what incredible potentials might be lying dormant right now, just waiting to be unleashed simply by consciously changing that inner picture? What new, empowering reality will you begin to vividly imagine for yourself starting today?